The crash came first. Porcelain against tile. A sharp crack that sliced through every conversation in the room. Hot coffee sprayed across the black and white floor like dark rain. A tray spun, clattered, rolled. And in the middle of it all, a young waitress lay on the ground, hands shaking, breath knocked out of her. For half a second, the whole diner froze. Then the pain hit. Her knee screamed, her palms burned. Coffee soaked through her apron. Her eyes stung, not just from the heat, but from the humiliation of knowing everyone was staring. And then came the part that hurt more than all of that. Laughter. Not a nervous laugh. Not a, "Whoa, are you okay?" kind of chuckle. A cruel, clear, proud laugh. The kind that says, "You're beneath me." It came from the man in uniform, a police officer. Broad shoulders, clean boots, badge shining under the fluorescent lights. He leaned back in his booth, grinning as if he'd just watched the best joke of the day. "Guess somebody forgot how to walk," he said, loud enough for the whole place to hear. Forks paused midway to mouths. Conversations died mid-sentence. People glanced up, then down again, suddenly very interested in their plates. No one said a word. No one stood up. No one, except the quiet man who had just walked through the door. He didn't yell. He didn't throw a punch. He did something much, much stronger. And what happened next would change that little Texas town in a way no arrest report ever could. Before we dive into this powerful story of courage and quiet kindness, you're watching Kindness Valley. If stories like this remind you that humanity is still alive, hit subscribe, tap that like button, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us keep sharing real stories about the impact one kind choice can have. Now, back to that diner. It sat just off a lonely Texas highway. Neon sign buzzing. Screen door that squeaked. Coffee that was a little too bitter. Pie that was just sweet enough. The kind of place where the waitress knows how you take your eggs. The cook yells, "Order up!" like he's on stage. And at least half the room knows each other's first names and business. Truckers, farmers, mechanics from the shop down the road, retired couples who came every Thursday, rain or shine. And in the middle of it all was Lily. 22. Dark circles under gentle eyes. A smile that tried its best to hang on, even when the rest of her was exhausted. She had just clocked out of a long night at the nursing home. 8 hours on her feet, helping people twice her age and 3 times her weight. No real breaks, no real sleep. She'd gone home, caught maybe 3 hours of restless rest, then pulled herself out of bed again. There was rent to pay, community college bills, her mom's medication, gas, groceries. Every tip mattered. She tied her hair back, pinned on a name tag that had seen better days, and told herself the same thing she told herself every morning. Just get through today. One good shift at a time. By noon, the diner was humming. Plates clinked. The old jukebox in the corner played a scratched country song. The smell of bacon, onions, and burnt coffee blended into something oddly comforting. That's when he walked in. The angry cop. He had the kind of walk that said he thought the room belonged to him. Tall, solid, belt heavy with gear. Sunglasses pushed up on his head. His uniform looked like it had just come from the dry cleaner. No wrinkles, no stains, not a single thread out of place. A couple of regulars straightened in their seats when they noticed the badge. One nodded, out of habit more than respect. Lily did what she always did. She picked up a menu, took a breath, and put on her everything's fine smile. "Good afternoon, officer," she said as she approached. "Table for one?" He slid into the booth without even looking at her, eyes already scanning the room like he was checking for trouble. But not the kind he'd just create himself. Coffee, black. And whatever's fastest, he said. Right away, Lily replied automatically. She turned, heart steady, steps practiced. She'd carried 3, 4, 5 cups at a time 1,000 times before. Her muscles knew the route better than her mind did. She loaded up a tray at the counter. 3 steaming cups of coffee. 2 for the truckers at table 6, 1 for the cop. Deep breath. 1 step, 2 steps. Her heel moved back. Her foot should have met the floor. Instead, it met something else. Boot leather. Later, more than one person in that diner would swear they saw it. The tiny, deliberate nudge of his foot. Just enough to catch her heel. Just enough to send her balance spinning. The tray tilted. Time stretched. Cups flew. Coffee arced through the air. She hit the floor hard. The impact jolted up her spine. Hot coffee splashed across her arms and legs. 1 cup exploded against the tile near her hand, shards of porcelain skittering away. For a moment, the only sound was the soft hiss of the coffee maker and Lily's broken little gasp as she tried not to cry. Then his laugh cut through the silence. Full, unapologetic, amused. "Look at that," he said. "You sure they didn't hire you from the circus? You fall better than you serve." Someone at the counter winced. An older woman covered her mouth. A young boy in the corner watched, confused and angry, his small hands balling into fists around his crayon. Lily's face burned. Her knee throbbed. Her hands shook as she scrambled to sit up. And even then, habit kicked in before pride. I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. "I'm sorry, sir." As if this were her fault. The officer leaned back, arms spread along the back of the booth, owning the space. "Next time, watch where you're going," he said, smirk curling his lip. That was the moment the bell over the door chimed. Most people didn't look up. Guilt has a way of gluing your eyes to your plate when you know you should have done something and didn't. But the man who walked in saw everything. Jeans, scuffed boots, faded jacket, no flashing lights, no fanfare. He moved like someone who knew exactly who he was. No need to prove it. No need to take up more space than his body required. A few sets of eyes widened in quiet recognition. The older couple in the corner exchanged a look. The kid with the crayon blinked twice. Chuck Norris. He hadn't come to that diner looking to be a hero. He wanted a hot meal, a strong coffee, and a little quiet on a Texas afternoon. But life has a funny way of putting us exactly where we're needed. He didn't look at the angry cop first. He walked right past him and knelt down beside Lily. "Hey," he said gently, "take your time. Don't rush. You okay?" No cameras, no crowd performance, just a man speaking to another human being like she mattered. Lily swallowed hard. She tried to brush hair from her eyes with shaking fingers. I think so," she said. "My knee hurts a little. I'm so sore." "Stop," Chuck said softly, holding up a hand. "You don't need to apologize for falling. That happens to everyone. Let's get you off the floor first." He offered his hand. He didn't yank her up. He moved slowly, bracing her weight like he'd done this 1,000 times before. On movie sets, in training, in life. He helped her to a nearby booth and eased her down. "I'll grab some ice for that knee," he said. "Stay put." By then, the owner had rushed out from the kitchen, face flushed. "Lily, I'm so sorry. I didn't see—" "Are you hurt?" he stammered, then added quickly, looking at the officer. "Officer, is everything all right here?" Chuck was already crouched again, picking up the larger pieces of broken cups, arranging them carefully onto the fallen tray, so no one else would get cut. "She doesn't need to apologize for making you look bad," Chuck said calmly, setting the tray on the counter and turning to the owner. Then he shifted his eyes to the cop. "She needs respect." The smirk on the officer's face faltered. He stood up, puffing out his chest, sizing Chuck up from boots to jawline. For a moment, there was a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Is that?" And then his ego shoved it aside. "You got something to say, old man?" the cop asked, fake laughter in his voice, real annoyance in his eyes. Chuck didn't step back. He didn't raise his voice, he just stood there, solid, steady, grounded like an oak. "I do," he said quietly. "I want to know what part of your training tells you it's okay to stick your boot out, trip someone carrying hot coffee, then laugh when they hit the ground and make them apologize to you." A couple of people who had been pretending not to watch suddenly found themselves very interested in their water glasses. The officer shrugged, jaw tight. "She tripped," he said. "Not my fault she's clumsy. Accidents happen." Chuck tilted his head a little, like he was examining something under a microscope. "Accidents don't move their foot into someone's path," he replied. "Accidents don't sit back and laugh when someone's hurt." The air in the diner changed. The silence wasn't scared anymore. It was expectant. "You don't get to tell me how to do my job," the officer snapped, stepping closer now, trying to loom over him. "You think being some washed-up movie star makes you better than me?" Chuck's eyes didn't waver. "No," he said. "Fame doesn't make anyone better than anyone, but character does. And right now, a whole room full of people is watching yours." His words landed like a weight in the room. The bell over the door chimed again. This time, another uniform walked in. Older. Stripes on his sleeve. A sergeant. He paused just inside the doorway, eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. The broken cups, the shaken waitress with an ice pack on her knee, the famous face, the angry young officer standing too close. "We got a call," the sergeant said, voice firm but controlled. "Somebody said there was a problem." For a heartbeat, no one answered. Then, from the corner, a woman lifted her hand halfway, like she was back in school. "I saw it," she said. Her voice wobbled at first, then steadied. He stuck his foot out. She fell, and he laughed. A man at the counter cleared his throat. "Same here," he added. "Been coming here 10 years. Never seen anything like that." One by one, the silence cracked. "I watched it too," the older woman said. "So did I," the trucker muttered. The sergeant listened, shoulders tensing, eyes hardening bit by bit. Finally, he turned to his officer. "That what happened?" he asked. The younger man shifted his weight, jaw grinding. "They're exaggerating," he said. "She tripped, Sarge. Floors are slippery. That's it." The sergeant looked at Lily, at the melted ice dripping down the side of the towel pressed to her knee, at her trembling hands. Then he turned his gaze to Chuck. "Sir," he said quietly, "you see what happened?" Chuck could have launched into a speech. He could have said his name, leveraged his fame. He didn't. "I saw a young woman doing her job," he said simply. "I saw a man in a position of power make her feel smaller than the dirt on his boots. That's what I saw." The sergeant's jaw flexed. "Officer," he said, voice clipped. "Outside, now." The younger cop opened his mouth to argue. Then he saw his sergeant's face and thought better of it. He stalked out, shoulders stiff, every step loud. Through the front windows, the people in the diner could see the two men talking. The sergeant's hands moved sharply. His finger pointed back toward the diner, then to the badge on the younger man's chest. The officer's face went red. He said something that made the sergeant's lips press into a straight line. A few minutes later, the younger cop got into his patrol car and drove away, too fast for the small parking lot. When the sergeant came back inside, the room went quiet again. He walked straight to Lily. "Ma'am," he said, voice low, "on behalf of our department, I'm sorry. That is not how we're supposed to treat anyone. There will be consequences." Lily nodded, swallowing hard. "Thank you," she whispered. He gave her a small nod, then turned to Chuck. "Thank you for stepping in, sir," he said. And this time, the respect in his tone had nothing to do with movie posters or old TV shows. Chuck shook his head. "Thank her," he replied, nodding toward Lily. "She showed up to work exhausted and still tried to apologize to someone who hurt her. That takes more strength than most people ever show in a gym." The tension in the room finally let out, like everyone had been holding their breath and could finally exhale. A few quiet laughs. Plates clinked again. Conversations cautiously picked up. Chuck slid into the booth across from Lily. "How's the knee?" he asked. "Hurts," she admitted, managing a small, embarrassed smile. "But I'll live." "Good," he said. "The world needs people who keep showing up on the hard days." She blinked fast, fighting tears she didn't want to spill at work. "Why did you—" she started, then faltered. "You didn't have to do all that. You don't even know me." Chuck studied her face for a long moment. The fatigue, the worry, the stubborn bit of hope that hadn't given up yet. "That's exactly why," he said quietly. "Because too many people see something wrong and tell themselves, 'It's not my business.' But kindness only works when somebody decides, 'Actually, it is.'" When the check came, Chuck didn't even look at his own total. He took the slip from the owner, pulled out his card, and said, "This one's on me." "The burger and coffee?" the owner asked. Chuck shook his head. "For everyone," he said. "Lunch is on me today." A ripple of surprise moved through the room. Murmurs of "no way" and "you don't have to do that" and "thank you" floated in the air. He signed the receipt, then flipped over Lily's copy. On the back, he wrote a few lines, folded it once, and handed it to her. "Do me a favor," he said with a small grin. "Don't read this until I'm gone." He stood, shook a few hands. No autograph show, just genuine connection. He ruffled the hair of the kid in the corner, who would tell this story in school for weeks. Then he walked out the same way he'd come in. No slow-motion exit, no heroic music. Just a door closing softly behind him. Lily waited until the lunch rush died down. Then, during a rare quiet moment, she slipped the folded receipt from her apron pocket. Her fingers still trembled as she opened it. In neat, steady handwriting, it said, "Real power isn't in your fists or your title. It's in how you treat people when you think no one is watching. Don't ever let anyone convince you that you're small." Chuck Norris. Years later, that crumpled piece of paper would still be in her wallet. She would read it on nights when nursing school felt impossible, on days when patients yelled out of fear and pain, and she felt too tired to be kind. Before double shifts at the hospital when the hallways smelled like bleach and worry. She graduated. She became a nurse. And every time she saw someone, patient, cleaner, another nurse, being talked to like they were less than human, she thought of a Texas diner, shattered coffee cups, an angry cop, and a quiet man who decided that day that it was his business. As for that officer, he didn't lose his badge that afternoon, but he did face an internal investigation, mandatory retraining, months of walking into a diner knowing that every eye that turned his way remembered exactly who he'd been when he thought no one important was watching. People in town told the story, not because a celebrity had shown up, but because of what he'd done with his influence. Parents told it to their kids at bedtime. Teachers shared it in classrooms. Cops who did remember why they wore the badge told it to rookies in the locker room. "Don't be the one who laughs when someone falls," they'd say. "Be the one who reaches out a hand." Because that was the real point. Kindness doesn't always come with fanfare. It doesn't always mean a perfect hero and a perfect ending. Most of the time, it walks into an ordinary place on an ordinary day, sees something wrong, and quietly decides, "This time, I'm not looking away." If this story hit you in the heart, don't let it stop at your screen. Speak up when you see someone being treated unfairly. Be the hand that helps someone off the floor, literally or emotionally. And if you want more true and inspiring stories like this, make sure you're subscribed to Kindness Valley. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that compassion is still the strongest force we've got, and let us know in the comments. When was the last time you chose kindness instead of looking away?